with Simon Broderick, and we're going to be talking all things craft beer. Everything, because I know nothing about craft beer.
Okay, we could be here a while.
We're gonna hit all the nitty gritty stuff that people need to know about craft beer. I suppose there's a lot of misconceptions of craft beer. People have heard the name but might not necessarily know what it means. So hopefully today we're going to clarify what it is and what it does.
I'll do my best.
Perfect. So I'll get you to introduce yourself, Simon.
So my name is Simon Broderick. I'm from the Midlands, and I've been, I've been interested in different beers since I was old enough to drink it, and trying different beers when I was abroad, and getting brought different beers by some friends. Like, for instance, Sean Lightholder from America would have given me my first IPA back in the early 2000s. In 2013, it was suggested that I start writing about music, as I'd written for some of the local newspapers. And at the time, I was kind of going, there's a few people writing about music, so I'm going to write about one of the other things I'm passionate about, which is beer. And so I started writing a blog then, which I suppose it's evolved. It was called Simon Says You Really Should Drink This, and I've kind of streamlined it down to Simon Says Beer now. So that started September 2013, so just over 12 years ago.
Right.
And within a short while, I started a beer club in Athlone, and we did lots of different things. Like, we did beer and food pairings in some of the local restaurants. Brilliant. And then we did, then a year or two after that, started the Midlands Craft Beer Festival in Dons and Moat. So I did that for 10 years.
Wow.
So I think that was probably, I was happy that I'd done it for that length of time.
Right.
And it was good. It grew and it changed every year. But I've stopped that now. In 2016, after working in retail for a long time, since I left school, I applied for the job of beer specialist in Rye River in Selbridge, and I got it. So I was involved there in doing brewery tours, events, samplings, and some sales as well. So I did that. I worked for those guys for 5 years and learned an awful lot, working with the brew team and working with the guys there. And organising events and things like that as well. So which was great. And then in 2021, I got the opportunity to go and work for Galway Bay Brewery as a brand ambassador for those guys.
Brilliant.
And that involved a similar thing, like lots of events, lots of travel abroad, doing different festivals and things like that, which I enjoy doing. And then since 2023, I've been working with Four Corners, which is craft beer specialist. And so what we do is we distribute a load of different breweries from Ireland and from abroad. And we also distribute some sodas, some kombucha as well. So really, you could say craft drinks if you wanted to.
Right, yeah.
So that's kind of where I am. So yeah.
Yeah, but I know you did in the past. You did actually do a few courses on it, didn't you?
I've done a couple of courses. Most recently, so I did some courses with the Institute of Brewing and Distilling over in London, and they were basically around appreciating craft beer, understanding it, and being able to serve it. So just a bit of kind of knowledge, background knowledge. Last year, there was a course run by the National Homebrew Club.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is to do with judging beer. So back in May, I was up in Rascals with a host of other people. There must have been 50 of us judging homebrews from all around the country. So you're trying to find the best, and there's prizes, and it was very interesting.
That's brilliant. And craft beer in Ireland now, would there be many breweries? Would there be many types of craft beer?
Yeah, there are. Now, there was a peak probably around 10 years ago, and there was maybe 100 breweries. Of those, there was maybe 60 or thereabouts were what you call like bricks and mortar, and then there's so many kind of contract brands and cuckoo brewers, if you want to call them that would go in and they'd make a beer with somebody, or they'd contract somebody to make a beer for them.
Oh, okay.
That has fallen off a bit in the last few years. Obviously, COVID had an effect, and the tariffs in the US are having an effect on some of the, like recently we had Killarney Brewing and Distilling, which had got quite a bit of investment, but unfortunately wasn't going to make money anytime soon, I think. Right. So that went, and that would have been a loss, like the jobs lost there as well. Like, but then there's other breweries that are going well. So there's a bit of consolidation going on, whereas some breweries are shutting up shop and they're selling the brand to another company, and so the brand stays going, but they're not actually making the beer themselves anymore, you know. So yeah.
And how is the market? Like, is the Irish market, is it made for the Irish market, or is there a lot of exporting to
there would
countries?
There would be a lot of export. Like I'm going tomorrow to the Netherlands. I'm with actually two of the breweries that I work with in Four Corners, so Lineman and Third Barrel. So I'm going helping out Lineman at a beer festival in Amersfoort in a brew pub called Rock City.
Oh, brilliant.
So those guys are exporting to the Netherlands. But yeah, there's a demand for Irish beer across Europe, especially Italy, the north of Italy, France. So any of the breweries I've worked for are exporting to depending on the breweries, but they could be exporting to 4 or 5 up to maybe 16 countries, like so.
Wow. And what makes it different? Like, why are they after Irish beer? Is there a certain taste to it? Is it the way it's done?
Yeah, well, I mean, every brewery you talk to is going to say, "Oh, it's unique and whatever else." But yeah, I suppose there is, depending on the brewery, there could be that kind of wine term, that terroir. So there are breweries that are using Irish malt. There's some breweries like Ballykilcavan that do sometimes, like, they do their own malt, their own water, their own hops that they grow. They could maybe do that once a year.
Okay. Right.
So there are unique things about the breweries here, so which is good, and that does make it interesting. Of course, there's the romantic nature of Irish. Everything Irish is great as well. Like, so look at if people want to buy into that, that's okay. There are a lot of really good brewers here. I'm lucky to know a lot of them, and work with some of them as well. Like, so, so yeah. So there are, like, there's breweries. I would say a few years ago we weren't even able to compare to some of the stuff that's being brewed in the UK or in America, but whereas now the quality, like, of the beers is very, very good. And it's able to hold its own with a lot of, we don't have to, like, the Irish beer doesn't suffer by comparison to the imported stuff now,
Okay, so it holds up.
Yeah, exactly. There's very good quality beers being produced in Ireland now. So.
And where would be sort of the epicenter of craft beers? Like, where did it originate? Would we be looking at America, Belgium?
Yeah. So pretty much, yeah. So I suppose for it to be the craft beer scene, I think the about Richard Nixon actually legalized home brewing in America. So from there you got Anchor came from that in San Francisco, and Sierra Nevada, also California, would have started up. So they would have been some of the first kind of regional breweries that gained success. And I suppose a lot of the time they were interpreting English or European styles of beer, but they tended to make them stronger, more hoppy, more, that kind of big flavours. And so, like, that came back over to the UK and then to Ireland as well. So I'd say Ireland has been emulating that style, Then you look at more recently the likes of local breweries. There's White Street in Ballymahon and Land and Labour, who are brewing in the kind of Belgian style. And so they're brewing with mixed fermentation, wild yeast. They're barrel aging their beers.
Okay,
so but like that, they're still using Irish malt.
Right.
So there's a point of difference there.
Distinction
So,
there,
yeah. So.
And so as for someone who doesn't know much about them at all, like what's the different types of actual craft beer? Not in names, but is there like a lager or?
So yeah, well, I mean, anything that's brewed, like the craft is a very kind of airy-fairy term. I suppose under Irish law, it's just to do with tax and excise, and it's like if you're a certain size, if you're not as big as the big guys, you get a tax break basically.
All right.
So microbreweries is what it is, and really they're not limited to style. Like they can make a light lager or a Euro lager or whatever it is in that would be similar to what's being mass produced by the bigger breweries.
Okay.
I would say it's better because of the ingredients that are being used, like the attention to detail there, and also the fact that I'd say the majority of brewers that I know wouldn't be using anything to like extra chemicals or enzymes or things like that, to be sticking to the core ingredients, which are your malt, hops, yeast and water. So so that's just that kind of, it's not just kind of a big factory churning out stuff. That there's a bit more kind of personality behind it, maybe.
A bit of love as well.
A bit of TLC, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I see in some of them, like some of them would have like chocolate in them. They have some strange.
So that's the thing. Like in fairness, you can put adjuncts into your beer, like extra ingredients. Like Dead Centre in town there have made beer with pretzels and Christmas cake and things like that put into the mix. But basically you need, and Liam Tutty of Dead Centre says this when he's doing his brewery tours, you need those 4 ingredients to make a beer that I've mentioned: your malt, your hops, yeast and water. But then you can add whatever you want to it. Really.
And that goes in, that if you're adding whatever, it goes into those 4 products and it stays the length of time.
It stays, yeah. So what you do is you'd brew the beer to start with, and then you'd add other things at the end, and then it sits in the tank while the beer is fermenting. So you wouldn't get lumps of cake in your beer or
right.
pretzels,
So you're not getting a meal or anything.
No.
It's just a hint.
Try lumpy pints. So
that'd be hard to pour now.
It wouldn't. I've seen beers being brewed with a lot of fruit, and so they look like smoothies. So they were an absolute nightmare to pour. Yeah, I've seen that happen. Like with, when the experimentation goes just that bit too far. So a lot of it then, I suppose, with that kind of stuff, it's like an experiment. You're playing with little ingredients and seeing how the batch comes out. And the best description I've heard is like it's a combination of art and science. So obviously the science, and it's again like baking. You can't just, when you're baking, it's different than cooking. You can't just throw anything at it and it'll work out. Yeah. If you don't do it exactly as it should be, it won't work out. But then to know, right, okay, we're going to brew a beer, that's a beer. How do we make it taste good, and how do we make it taste different? Right. So that's where the art bit comes in. So I suppose you're kind of working on the science bit first, and when you perfected that, then you can sort of play. Exactly. You need to learn your trade like that. So like that, you've got a lot of people here on the Irish scene that have come from home brewing, and then graduated up, if you want to say, to brewing on a bigger scale, Yeah. And looking at the pubs now, so years ago there wasn't, I suppose it was quite the actual taps itself. You'd have your mainstream ones. Yeah. But there seems to be quite a lot more craft on tap offer. Yeah. There is it's in Athlone there. You'll find craft beer pouring in a good few pubs, like a good half a dozen anyway, like, you know. But it is still hard to get in with the bigger guys because they have bigger budgets, you know, so they can go in and they can help a pub with
right.
You know, oh, you need a new awning there. Yeah, okay, sound sure. That's grand. We'll do that. And by the way, we'll just have most of the taps on the bank there. You know.
Oh, okay.
Whereas most of your craft lads don't have the budget to do that. You know. So
yeah. So they're relying on people's tastes to.
Yeah.
Kind of
or the thing of going, what's the local beer? You know, what's brewed? You know, so if which is, there are people who that's part of their tourist or visiting a place experiences that they're going looking for whatever the local beer is. That's what I do when I'm abroad, or even in a different town. I'll go and look and see what's the new thing or what's the nearest thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
And generally, like, I know a lot of them can be a lot stronger than a normal beer, or is that
that's what did I say? That's a misconception, because, like, I mean, a lot of the beers, there's session IPAs there that can be the kind of mid 3% for, again, there's lagers you get 4 or 5%, which are all quite sessionable, and every in and around the same as the big brands. Now, that said, there are beers you can get, barley wines and things like that, could be 14.5%, or imperial stouts.
Wow.
But like that, again, that's only the same strength as a wine. So you nearly treat that like a wine. You're not sculling pints of it.
Right.
You're savouring a glass.
Taste.
You're sipping it. You're not kind of going, oh lads, we're going on the lash. We're going to have 10 pints of imperial stout, because that'd be messy.
Yeah,
to say the least.
Yeah.
And what makes something stronger? Like, is it?
So if we go back to the fermentation, it's really the sugar. So the sugar from the malted barley, the more that you put in, the stronger the beer is going to be. So how long you let it ferment, and you can add sugar in as well. Like, it all ferments out. Like the Belgian breweries all would add sugar into their beer to push up that ABV.
Right.
So
kind of the longer you leave it, the stronger it gets.
A little bit, up to a point. So when the yeast will stop fermenting eventually. But
right.
Yeah. So the other thing, if you put it into a whiskey barrel or another spirit or alcohol barrel, you can add a little bit to that ABV as well. I think you're only supposed to really add about 1%. But yeah, that can help push up it increases the flavour as well. So it adds notes of whether it's bourbon or whatever, or Irish whiskey. It adds some of those flavours into the beer as well, which is, there's another benefit.
Gee, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like,
you might actually like some of them.
I might like some of those, yeah. It's amazing. Like, when you actually break it down, it's a lot totally different to what you would think.
Yeah. But like this time of year is the time of year for those big beers. But in the summer, it's all IPAs, lagers, pale ales. It's all the relatively lighter beers, So yeah.
Yeah. And is there a difference now? Some of those, again, like it's predominantly bottles, some cans. Is there a difference between drinking out of them and say getting it on tap?
Yeah. So I would say so the Irish market traditionally has been dominated by bottles. There's a move to more can. Cans are better for a number of reasons. They're lighter for transport. They're recyclable. They're easier probably to recycle cans. And also, beer doesn't like light or oxygen. So your beer can get light struck, which is like skunked. So it's that kind of off flavour, or it can get oxidized if there's air getting in, if there's oxygen getting in there, which leads it to have like a wet kind of cardboardy taste. So they're both things that, like obviously in bottles, if they're brown, that helps keep out a lot of the light, and the cap on the top should form a seal, but it's not 100%. Whereas a can is sealed and it's not transparent, so you're not letting in any light or you're not letting in any oxygen if it's filled correctly. So a can could be seen as like a mini keg. So it's maybe it's a good way of keeping the beer fresh and keeping the flavours
and be more consistent. From a can that you'll get. And the difference then when you actually pour a pint, and is it a different structure or a different taste to what would come out of the can?
So the only real difference, it should be the same, should be the exact same. But obviously if beers are on if they're nitrogenated, and if they're not in the can, or that can be a little bit of a difference. And the only difference really with the nitrogen is that it's got a smoother head. Really, is the main thing. That does have an effect on the flavour as well. But there's not that many nitro craft beers as such, because it's the process to package them with nitro is expensive as well. So so most of them are just normal carbonated, So
and then we go. I just want to take you back to when you first got into it.
Yeah.
So when you were going out and you have these drinks, and then was craft beer big then, or was it just starting to?
No, it wouldn't. No, like you said, you would have had your traditional lineup of taps, and I probably was drinking Heineken or Guinness because that's what there was. But like that, travelling to the UK and trying cask ale for the first time, was interesting. I went over to Belgium around the year 2000, and I met an American barman, and he just basically lined up all the different beers for me, and so that was a good night because they're quite strong in Belgium anyway, and so that sort of thing, and as I mentioned, getting given beers from different countries as well, so all those things. Then I suppose I would have went to small breweries here. There was a couple at the time Galway Hooker started around 2007 over in Roscommon.
Oh, okay.
And then more recently, Bo Bristol was in Banagher in Offaly. So I would have called to these breweries. I would have met the guys who were making the beer, and you could kind of see that there was something starting to happen, which built for a few years. Then 2013, 2014, around then, there was a big explosion of interest in it. I think people thought they could make money quickly out of it, which has proven not to be the case.
Right.
Yeah.
So even back then, so you probably would have only seen a craft beer maybe in an off license or something like that.
Exactly, and it would have been quite limited at that. It would have been very limited. So you would have seen there was world beers, which like some of the German beers and things like that, the Belgian beers.
Yeah.
You would have been able to get those. But in terms of the Irish scene, there wasn't a whole lot happening. I suppose Porterhouse were going, and O'Hara's since the mid '90s, but that was it. There wasn't a whole lot else,
And then it just took off from there.
Yeah.
It just kind of and what is it like now? Is it like, obviously it's expanding? There's a lot more brewers, but is it sort of slowing down and closing, or is
it's probably what you call consolidation. So there are breweries that have sold up, have hung up their boots or whatever, and then there's other ones that are just doing nicely. But yeah, it certainly, it was a very busy market, and there probably wasn't, like, craft beer is still only sitting around 3% of beer consumption in Ireland.
Okay.
So
nice.
it's still quite a small market. So as you touched on export there, so basically you need to be exporting beer, or like that. If you're a very small production, you can just service your own local area, and that's feasible.
That keeps you going.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it seems to be a lot of craft places like doing like food with it. Like, I know you touched on food earlier, but like pizzas and wings, it seems to be a perfect accompaniment.
100%. Yeah. So that's what you want, is you get somebody to come in and relax with some food and with some beer, and it works. Yeah. So
it's a bit like the in the Indians would always be like a curry and a lager.
Yeah.
And is there a reason for that? Why it's a lager?
I suppose a lager is just nice and light, and it's refreshing, and you can drink a lot of it quite easily, which when you're eating hot food, you want something cold to kind of balance that out.
You wouldn't eat, like a stout would be too heavy for food.
It depends. No, I would pair stout. Like if I had a creamy beef curry, say, I think a stout would be okay with that. Stout obviously works well with stews and things like that. Or if I make a chili con carne or something like that, I'll often have a can of stout with that. Okay, so yeah, there's lots of different things. Your food pairing, I suppose, you either want to complement the flavours that you're eating or provide a contrast. So so like if you're eating something rich and fatty, a lager is nice and clean, cleanses your palate, and it's refreshing,
Okay, so you don't want anything too overpowering then.
No,
in between.
In that case,
just
no,
something
exactly.
Light.
Exactly, yeah.
And then when you're at home now, you would drink obviously lots of different stuff. Like you'd have.
I'd basically go, what's for dinner? If I'm cooking it, I know what it is. But yeah, and I'd normally put a beer with that. The one thing that always defeats me is spaghetti bolognese, and I might have a glass of red wine with that just for a change.
So wine is allowed.
100%. Everything is allowed. But it's also good because for your palate to try different things, and you can kind of go, oh, look at, I'm picking up something here that and I recognise that I can kind of identify. Certainly with white wine, there's certain hops that taste like the flavours you get with a white wine. So
And then that kind of leads on to something, I suppose. So it's the same idea, like when it comes to whiskies and stuff. Is that a completely different way of making whiskey compared to craft beer?
No, it's you have to make beer first before you make whiskey. So you make beer. You're not adding hops at the end of it, but they make a beer, and then they distill that and refine it until it's obviously the ABV is stronger. You're going up to 40 plus. Right. But it's beer. It starts out as beer, yeah.
No way.
Yeah. There you go. Mind blown.
Mine is completely blown. I would never.
Like that, yeah. And I'm okay with. I wouldn't be any kind of an expert on whiskey, but in a couple of weeks, Dave McKay here, he runs the whiskey club in Athlone, and we're going to 2 local distilleries. So we're going to Kilbeggan and Tullamore. So and we'll sample the wares and get the tours there as well, So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, so it does all tie in together. And as I was saying, like there's a local distillery there, Loughree, and they've given barrels to local breweries like Dead Centre and like White Street, and those guys then would make a beer, they'll put it into those barrels, and then they might give the barrel back to Loughree, put a whiskey back into it or whatever else. So there's a symbiosis there, like there's
brilliant, yeah.
And there's sort of a special small batch of whiskey that has been aged in, there's been a stout or whatever beer in it. So there's the characters flowing back and forth between them,
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that is amazing.
So.
And then going forward, like, is it one of these things where there's, like you might see in America, there might be a new craze or there might be a new craft beer? Does it work like that? Is there something new things happening the whole time?
Yeah. So I was over in America there a couple of weeks ago, and the big trend over there at the moment seems to be lager, and specifically like Czech style lager. And so they all had the proper taps and the proper glasses and the whole lot. So whether that comes over here remains to be seen. The people keep talking about being the year of the lager, but that's been going on for a few years now. I'm here for it. I'm okay. If
You're ready.
I'm happy with a nice Czech style lager, yeah.
And when we talk about, obviously the big thing is like the Oktoberfest
and
would that be classed as craft beer? Or
so what they call that is more like a regional brewery, because they're quite big, like they're producing big volumes, but it's and I suppose there's certainly craft in it, because it's the quality of the beer. I mean, I've talked to some of these brewers. When one brewery was telling me that the lager, they age it for 100 days. So you can turn the lager around in 30 days.
Okay. Yeah.
You can even do it quicker if you want to take shortcuts and not do it right. But those guys are very serious about what they're doing, and they're doing it for the last 500 or 600 years. So yeah, so it's not, you wouldn't call it craft beer, but it's certainly good quality beer. So
okay, so craft beer's been going for a long time.
If you want, exactly. Well, like even if you looked at it in Ireland a couple of hundred years ago, there would have been a brewery in every town, and so people were brewing small batch back then, for hundreds of years. Like, I mean, St. Patrick had a brewer.
Really?
So yeah, so he might not have brewed it as you'd recognise it as beer today, but they would have brewed certain types of ale. They would have brewed a thing called Gruit, Gruit. I'm not so sure if I'm saying that right, but they would have put like bog myrtle and gorse and things like that in to flavour the beer in the stead of hops.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, people have been brewing for thousands of years. There are some more historical books and things on that.
Right.
If you're, what's it called? Filthy Queens is a book by Christina Wade, Dr. Christina Wade, I should say. And she's written a good account of brewing history in Ireland. So that's worth, if you wanted. I can give you the end of it if you want to.
Jeez, yeah.
So
and does mead come into that? Does that
mead,
even, is that along the same
mead
lines?
is, again, it's a traditional drink made with honey, but it's not really the same process as such. It's not, you're not starting out with a malt barley base. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's honey, and you're using the honey to get the sugar to make the alcohol.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So wow, my mind's still blown from the whiskey and the and the craft beer thing. I would never have put the two together.
Oh no, 100%. And also it's nice to have a few craft beers or whatever you want to call them, and having a wee dram at the end of it, as the Scots have it, you know.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah. And do you find now, because we're coming up to, we're in November now, so we're coming up to the Christmas period, is this like a really busy period?
Yeah, so I mean, there's people making up hampers with craft beer in them, which is great. So that's as an ideal gift. You know, you can get a thing with some glasses and some nice beers in it. So, I mean, that's who doesn't want that for a Christmas present?
Absolutely, yeah.
Me,
don't apart from me. If there was tea in it, no, I'd be
Yeah, we'll get you a craft tea hamper, yeah.
But then also, having touched on that, like there's, like you look at the pubs, and the pub trade is kind of going down. More people seem to be drinking at home. Yeah,
there's a bit of that, but I mean.
So would you find that people would go and buy, like, are you finding that your craft beer is selling more because of that?
Again, over COVID, the off licenses did really well, and the breweries, and even there's online retailers, and they did really well. But I mean, there is a thing, like, you can't, unless you have a really good bar in your shed or whatever, it's very hard to replicate the atmosphere you get in a pub. You go in, there's music, there's chat, there's crack. So, I mean, I still think if a pub is good, it'll still hold its own, like, you know.
Yeah.
I know it's challenging, and I wouldn't open a pub myself, but I think there's still a place for the pub in society, like, you know. So,
totally agree. And would you say that, having said that, like, obviously much younger people might not be going out as much as we would have done 20 years ago, like going drinking, say, and they might go to nightclubs. Would you find that there's a certain demographic of people that would drink craft beer?
Yeah, it is probably largely men, and probably 30 to 50. Roughly. But like that is, I'm always happy and encouraged to see that there's more other people outside of that are interested in it. Technically, or not even technically, it's a proven fact that women have better palates than men anyway. So I'm encouraged to see people like Lisa Graham writes a thing about weirdo Dublin pubs. I've mentioned Christina Wade, and there's a load of other. Tara Pollard has been involved in the homebrew community. So it's I love to see that it's not just all hairy men like me, So
is that, when you say their palates, is that why women generally go for like wines and sweeter stuff? Or?
No, see, that's a that again, that's kind of a dangerous kind of generalization. So yeah, like there is the thing that a man and a woman walk up to the bar and they're like, oh, we have this nice fruited drink that you might like, and I'm sorry, no, the lady might be looking for a stout. Do you know what I mean?
What I meant by that as well is because there's lots more flavours in the craft beers,
of course,
as compared to like your normal vodka. So that might appeal. Not that's why you make it, but that there's.
But you want to have the broadest appeal possible. You want it to be accessible, or obviously the more people are drinking it, the better. You know what I mean?
Of course,
it's a business, and you want to sell a bit of beer. So yeah,
I suppose the last thing is, do bacon fries go with it? Because I know they go with a pint. And
I actually I prefer if you can get them, the actual pork scratchings, the proper ones,
the ones that break your teeth.
That and a pint of ale. Happy days, yeah.
Well, there you have it. It's from the horse's mouth. That's the new trend for 2026. Simon, thanks so much. I'm still. It'll take me a while to process that now.
Look, we can talk about it. We'll get you a pint of something.
I'll have a pint of whiskey now, seeing as it's technically beer.
Started out as beer. Maybe don't drink a pint of whiskey. Enjoy whiskey responsibly and beer.
We'll keep that bit in. For the under 18s.
Don't drink beer, kids. It's bad for you.
But thanks so much for coming in and sharing the knowledge. It's been brilliant. Like it just dispels the myths of you hear about craft beer and you think, oh, craft beer, but
there's a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, and the fact that we've been brewing it for hundreds of years, like it's not new either. So it's rehashing. So thank you very much, and best of luck for the new year coming.
Thank you.
Sure, we'll have you back home and all the new beers are out and
new
trends.
Sound.
Thanks very much, Simon.
Cheers.
Take care.